So you think I'm some kind of mercenary? I'm a Mandalorian. Weapons are part of my religion. This is the way.
I have a bad feeling about this. Get your canons out because you're listening to Red Mandos, a break dancing podcast that specifies in Star Wars Shatterpoint. And with me, as always, is Red Mando 2. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. I think this week it's been a little while between drinks for us. I think we're pretty regular, and we've had about a 2 or 3 week break since recording. But
I
yes,
think
we're
we
back.
usually do that though. It's usually 2 to 3 weeks. I know Harp Daddy's like, these guys record weekly. I'm like, no, Rogue Support, I think, we're or maybe still are recording weekly. We do not. We record when we record.
I think though we've been a little bit more consistent lately, and I think not the last couple of weeks. The few episodes before that, it was like one every 7 days basically. I think is kind of what
What?
we were at. Yeah, it was crazy. But we have slowed down a bit. I think mostly me. I've had a lot of just school stuff, marking to get done. So, but we're back into it. We're here to break down the latest break dancing
Mate,
from around the
does
world.
that move have a name?
There's a lot of moves that she did. The fresh prawn is the one-legged
Fresh
dingo.
porn.
Yeah, when she's like flopping around on the ground.
I
The fresh prawn.
hope people get this reference. You know, if anybody comes back and listens to this in like 6 months' time, they'll be like, "What the hell are they talking?"
If you know, you know. I don't know if I want to explain it to people,
Yeah,
but
I think. Look, if you're down with breaking, then you know.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. We don't need to explain because you guys, that's what you're here for, the breaking. So
That's exactly it.
yeah, you're here for what's breaking. Fantastic. So I mean, we've got a lot to get through today, right?
We do.
I mean, I guess before we jump into it, I think there's probably something we need to do first, and
And what's that?
that's well, I'm glad you asked. I feel like we're on one of those really cheesy podcasts. Not that we
We
aren't.
are.
That, my friend, is we have to thank our lovely, supportive, and ever graceful patrons today. And as always, because they do mean, and we say it every time, right? But they really do mean a lot to us, and they motivate me to do more Shatterpoint work than schoolwork. So that's, if that's what they're getting out of it, then that's something, right? But yeah, I think we do have to throw some thanks their way because they
We do,
certainly do
and
thank us.
we have a brand new patron as well.
We do.
Do you remember who it is?
Yeah, it's Brandalorian.
I mean, like, how could he have not been a patron with that name?
I think he changed his name. I think
Really?
he was just Brandon, I think, when he originally joined.
Are
Correct
you
me if I'm
sure?
wrong,
I,
please,
I, I
Brandalorian.
don't think so because I see him on some other Discord servers and he's Brandalorian on them as well.
Oh, there you go. I thought he was Brandon when he joined, but I must be
Oh, he
mistaken.
probably is. Like, that whole thing where Discord's like, what's your nickname?
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Well, yes, Brandalorian has joined us as one of our patrons, and we do thank him for his patronage. He is also someone who seems like I don't really know the Brandalorian all that well, but he keeps referring to Jeff as Daddy Jeff, and Jeff is my master. So I don't know if we were both an apprentice of Jeff at one point. I mean, it feels that way. So there's like a distant kinship there. But yeah, no, it's good to have you on board, Brandalorian. Thank you for your support and your patronage. Like we say all the time, we certainly do appreciate it, and yeah, happy to have you on board.
We
But
do.
there are others, right?
Well, I was just gonna say, I'm curious about how he knows Jeff and the whole, you know, Jeff's your master. But now you have an acolyte. So
Not a
I-
Padawan though, right? So
I didn't
does it
say
count?
Padawan. I said acolyte.
Oh, you know, it was awkward. My acolyte and my master faced off in a game, a
Oh,
league game the other week, and I was like, where does my allegiance lie? Does it lie with the acolyte or does it lie with my master? So,
it has to go to the acolyte, surely.
well, yes, I think so because that's me being biased towards my training and my teachings.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So based on
Unfortunately,
your training and your teachings, how did things go?
not great apparently. Jeff, Jeff is very good.
Yeah.
And did beat poor old Dingleberry, but that's okay. It's a learning experience. Dingleberry also was like
Except
6
when a
years.
Jar Jar trophy is up for grabs.
That is, it's all is. And we'll talk about that on another episode, I think, because we will do that shadow pointed where I think Jeff tanked all 3 of his games to go 0-3 just to win that Jar Jar. But yes, Dingleberry was like 6 beers deep apparently while he was playing Jeff. So I mean, I can't play Shadow Point with 1 beer the night before a game. I don't know how you play 6 beers and play Shadow Point. So props to him for living the spirit of the Red Mandos. He's truly a Red Mando in spirit. And Dingleberry is another one of our patrons and an acolyte. So props to you. You can show your wife this one as well. You can look. Now your wife got a mention as well. She should become a
Oh,
patron
that's right,
too.
that's
Wow. Yeah, fantastic. All right, so we do have other patrons. I don't have a list in front of me. Do you want
I've
me to
got a
just?
list. I've got a
I was gonna
list.
say I can run off the ones I remember.
Wow, we don't do that. I've got a list that's in
Because we could insult
alphabetical order.
people who are.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. That's harsh. I've got one that's in alphabetical order.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Okay, so we got.
I'm gonna list how many I may have forgotten. All right, go on.
You just do that quietly.
Quietly, yes, quietly on pen and
Yeah.
paper. Go
Okay.
on.
Well, it's in alphabetical order, but it's also the people that are online at the moment. So Benovi's
Oh.
online.
Yep.
Qui-Gon Jinn, he's playing Rocket League at the moment. He's also online. Then we've got Captain Koo, Tolstar Deluxe, Death 1942, Dingleberry you already shouted out, English 004, JB, first patron, thank you JB, Luco Harisian, Phoebe Pure Mongrel, the Harp Daddy from Space Lugs, and of course the Cat Dadalorian himself, Cat Dad.
Cat Dadalorian. I'm so glad I didn't do it that off the top of my head. Fuck.
So you would have been like, there's JP and Captain Koo and Tom.
I had like 6 people in my brain, and you've rattled off like 4 more names that I even forgot. I didn't even know we had that many patrons, and you say it out loud. That's crazy.
It is a bit crazy,
wow.
But yes, we do appreciate all the support.
Yeah, seriously,
all
we do.
You crazy patron peoples.
Wow. All right, so we flipped that card. We've only got 1 card left in the deck. All right, and that is our breakdown of our secondary units in the kind of the aspects, the 6 aspects that we had kind of pointed out with our primaries. So this is part of the series. We will do supports as well, and by the time we do supports, there'll probably be some more units out, I imagine, because you're going on holidays soon, right, Mando too?
I am indeed. So we may try and pre-record the supports one, but it may not be 100% up to date.
Oh yeah, we'll see. We'll see how we go with that one. Just one thing I'd like to point out: if you think you see any teenage delinquency behavior in the Discord, anybody, it's probably because I don't 100% know. I think I left my Discord open at school on a separate tab, and I think some kids from school have infiltrated the Discord. But they haven't said anything. They're being stealthy because they know as soon as I find out, I'm going to get rid of them. So Because they were mentioning today at school. They're like, "Oh yeah, did you get your tickets to Combat Company on Sunday? Far out, that was a great
Oh
event."
no!
And I'm
Oh
like, "Wow,
no!
how do you know? How do you know?" So I don't
Maybe
know
they
who they
listen.
are.
Man. Maybe they listen. Maybe they listen.
Look, if guys, if you are listening, okay, drop 100 likes. Get everyone you know to on the
Game
Spotify.
the algorithm. Just game the
Yeah,
algorithm.
please. But don't be in the Discord. And not that it's bad or anything. We are quite wholesome. I mean, today there was a lot of supportive dads, it seemed, around Dingleberry and kind of that whole new dad era of life, which was amazing, right? That's like, I think Koo said it best when he was talking about the fact that, the gaming is almost secondary to the kind of the networking and the community building, just around, the dads and stuff. And not that we're excluding women by any means, but I don't think, dads generally talk about that kind of thing and ask for help. And it's good that, we've got that kind of thing happening. It's all very wholesome, I find. But any teenage delinquency, get rid of them, shut them down, because I can't have it. I can't have it. Anyway, moving on to our secondaries, and into secondary school.
Yeah, good. Let's go.
Let's
Did
go. Let's move on.
We just called the first one School, didn't we? Shatterpoint School. We should have
I
called
think
it Primary School, 'cause then it would.
the episode was titled Primary School, yeah,
Oh,
but I made a mistake on the slides. My mistake, obviously. Anyway, we will move on to our first slide here, and it's just the 6 aspects again, just in case this is the first episode that you're watching, you haven't gone back to the primary one. I don't think we need to cover off on what they are because we did that in the primary one. So if you're listening now and you've missed the primary one, just go back to that. You can listen to that part, and the AI has done a wonderful job, wonderful, at chapterizing our episode. Some things like Cat Bane, which is obviously meant to be Cad Bane, and there's a few other mistakes through
Green
there.
Lightsaber Jedi or something, wasn't it?
Green Lightsaber Jedi. I don't know what that means.
I think it was like Luke, probably.
It must be Luke. It must be Luke or Luminara. It's one of the two, maybe. I can't remember. There's a couple of other missteps that it takes in chapterizing, but you can probably break it down fairly simply. Apart from Ayush, and Ayush was just Towson's revenge trigger, and it's just because I said, "Hey, should we move on?" and it just picked that as a topic. But anyway, yeah, I think just go back to there and it'll cover off on these aspects. And that brings us to our first unit, and that is the goodest boy, Captain Rex. Mendo too.
Yep.
Tell us. I mean, what aspect of Captain Rex is best?
Whoa, it's a tough one. I think, it was actually quite interesting when I was putting Captain Rex together because I do feel like he's a very good boy, which I think most people who have played Galactic Republic come to consider him one of the best secondaries. But then when I was looking through what he does, he doesn't have any massively standout kind of aspects. I guess his mobility is pretty strong, and I think most people would probably consider that an aspect that is really strong on Rex, in that he can, dash any Galactic Republic. So he can dash primaries, he can dash himself, then he's got another dash with his defensive maneuver, and then he's got an advance. So he is quite quick. So I guess that's reflected in that mobility score that he has there. I think he does have the double shoves, so he's got a decent amount of control.
Yep.
And because he's pretty sturdy, so he's got good tenacity. His attrition is probably not, in his active turn, isn't necessarily that super high, but one of the things that he does have is he's got that I'm always first kid ability.
Yeah,
so when
reliable.
it supports, right? When Clone Trooper supports,
Yeah, that's right. Within
they
3.
shoot, within 3, then he can do a sneaky little 5 dice attack. So
it's also accompanied by a dash, right? So
that's right.
he's got lots of dashes, but I think what stops him from having higher mobility is every ability he has is a dash only, and there's no jump, there's no advance, there's no
Yes.
reposition, right?
Yeah.
So he's kind of limited in that sense.
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting because I was like, oh, he's going to be a standout, but then he wasn't like a super standout. So
I think he's got really solid stats all round, though. I think he's just a
that's
really
true.
solid
Yeah,
piece.
he is very solid, very
And I
solid.
think probably what's also, and it's something really, really difficult to reflect on these kinds of cards, is the fact that his dash gives a hunker to a unit, and I guess that goes on to tenacity. But when you're considering that ability in conjunction with Obi-Wan, General Obi-Wan, that adds a whole nother level to what he brings to a squad. When you're
Yeah,
activating
for
him,
sure.
he's giving someone a hunker to be more defensive, to be tenacious, to get another dash eventually, right, and a heal. So yeah, there's a lot going on there behind the scenes.
Yeah, particularly because the primaries typically don't have they don't have access to defensive maneuver, so it's harder for them to
No.
get a hunker token. And this is kind of one of the things that we spoke about in the previous episode on the primaries is that these are just like broad indicators as to what the unit is good at, what they tend to focus on. It's not a case of like considering all of the intricacies, right? So this is
No,
more
yeah.
like if you want to look at a very mobile Galactic Republic unit, Rex is definitely very mobile. But when that's sort of the first place that you may look at. And yes, he's got some good tenacity, good attrition. But then you need to start considering, okay, if I take him with General Obi-Wan Kenobi, what other benefits do I get? We haven't touched on any of that sort of like synergistic type aspects.
No, and I think eventually we can probably do once we have our supports and stuff, we can do like, okay, here's a whole strike team. Let's look at it, a layered radar graph. Let's look at where the abilities lie and how they might synergize together to add to a total of something like 22 out of 10, because you've got just a lot of stuff heading in the same direction.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but that's a problem for later. Look, we all love Rex. All right, Rex is everyone's favorite boy. All right, we get our next unit now, and that's going to be Kalani, super tactical droid. And you can see there, obviously, his highest stat is in force efficiency and also attrition. Sorry, no, mobility. Oh no, sorry. I've completely read this wrong. Ignore me. Attrition is his highest stat, with mobility and force efficiency pretty close behind. So, Mando 2, before I eat my words even more than I already am, why is attrition so high for Kalani?
I think most people who have been playing Shatterpoint from the beginning are familiar with why Kalani brings so much attrition. It's not just that he has personal attrition, but he has that target concentrate or firepower. So when another battle droid attacks, and it's just attacks, so it works with 5 dice attacks as well as combat action attacks. But when they attack, if there's another battle droid within 4 of the target, then they get to roll an extra dice. So that's pretty massive. B1s, B2s, Magna Guard, Kalani, Kraken, they all benefit from this extra dice, and it can make quite a big difference in pumping out the damage, particularly because it works on those 5 dice attacks, right? So those attacks which you get from Tactical Network, they're now 6 dice attacks a lot of the time, and it makes quite a big difference.
Yeah, that happens a lot with a droid kind of list. You've got revenge triggers on Dooku, giving you 5 dice attacks. You've got General Grievous's appetite for destruction, giving you 5 dice attacks. So all those attacks bumping up to 6, increases those mathematical results to kind of get what you want more often. And I think, yeah, really important. He's also quite force efficient because he wants to spend maybe 1 on his turn, sometimes not even 1 if he can trigger it for free, which is pretty important there. And his mobility is obviously quite high because he is moving. He can move pretty much all your droid units if he activates first, which is kind of, I mean, at the beginning of the game, when there was only like the Wave 1 releases. Kalani was someone you never want. Like if you're across the table from Kalani and your opponent draws Kalani first, you're really already on the back foot because a well-played Kalani moves all of those secondaries and supports. Well, not
Just
secondaries, not
support.
all of them.
Just support.
Supports. Well, it could be secondaries now.
No,
with Kraken.
it's specifically each allied battle droid supporting.
Is it only supporting? Oh, there you
It
go. I haven't played Kalani enough. Well, there you go.
No, so
There you
yeah, I think he is interesting in that the mobility that he brings there is a team mobility. So he doesn't actually have any dash himself. So he's just got his plane advance, but yeah, he's dashing all when he activates his tactics dashes all supports within 4, and then he's also got tactical network as he's active, which is a dash and then either a hunker, remove a condition, or make a 5 dice attack. So both of those, the tactic and that active ability both play into the mobility and the attrition. He does get some good mobility because he's got a reposition on his tree on 4, which is pretty good. And yeah, he's super force efficient because often you don't need to spend any force on him because you'll get the tactical network on 3. So yeah, very interesting character, and I think has lots of potential to continue to see play. It'll be interesting to see what those aquadroids look like because presumably they're going to be, well, hopefully they're kind of some kind of battle droid, and then he'll be able
you'd
to
imagine.
benefit them.
Yeah. Well, it's really cool because he is totally 5 points, right? And I think there's other secondaries in this list, Aura, who certainly don't feel like 5 points, but Kalani definitely does. So yeah, cool. All right, moving on. Our next unit is Bo-Katan Kryze. Kind of this pseudo Mando leader without being a primary, which is kind of cool. She's obviously giving out that protection and steadfast aura within range 3 if they're on a point. So it's not a huge bubble. It's not like a Mace bubble, and it's condition. I think it's as conditional as Mace Windu, but I mean, do you really want steadfast if you're not on a point? I don't really think it matters, right? So she's giving steadfast only when you're on a point, but you don't need anything like a hunker like clones do. So yeah, she's got some cool abilities. Obviously, you can see there her best ability is or aspect. Sorry, her best aspect is mobility, and that's because she allows any allied Mandalorian a jump, and jumps are obviously, truly beyond.
One of the best movement abilities, right? It's
Well,
jump
I think
reposition, right?
Reposition is great. However, when you're looking at elevation, it's got to be the jump.
Yeah, for sure.
Because Shatterpoint's not it's 2D, but it's not, right? Levels count, and so yeah, having a jump is most of the time. I think in a game like Shatterpoint where it is levels, I think you're gonna be able to make use of it more than probably a reposition most of the time.
For sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean she does.
I mean,
not
she's also
everything perfectly, but
she's got tons of mobility herself, right? Because she can get a jump with her jump pack.
Yep.
She's got like a jump on a tree really early. She gets the dash when she focuses. So she is a very very mobile character. In addition to being able to hand out that jump to any other Mandalorian, which for the longest time in the game was just what came in the core box. But now we have the Mandalorian as options, which is really good, right? And I guess we've got Sabine, and we know we've got a whole bunch of Mandalorians coming because we've got the Armorer, Paz Vizsla, and those covert Mandalorians. So that ability to jump any of those Mandalorian characters is going to be huge.
Big, very big, yeah. All right, moving on. We have another Mandalorian, Gar Saxon, Merciless Commander. He's quite big on mobility as well, having a 9 there. He's not quite as mobile as Bo because when he focuses, he doesn't get any additional movement, but he does get to jump any allied Mandalorian unit, which, as we've discussed, it's becoming a wider pool than we had originally seen, which is really cool. And then he's got 6 in attrition and 6 in force efficiency as his next highest stats. And Gar Saxon has been known to alpha strike clones on the opposite side of the board to where he is deployed, if they're all deployed correctly. Similarly to Crosshair and his alpha strike ability. So yeah, Gar Saxon can do it, not as reliably as Crosshair, I must say, but yeah, he's certainly got that ability.
Yep, for sure. Like he's a solid piece, a different style of like Mando to Bo. I guess probably more attrition focused. But yeah, still got quite a lot of mobility. Again, got to jump on 2 or something on his tree. Like he's quite
And you
quite
can see, I think his control is slightly better than Bo because he is able to get a shove from his expertise, which ignores steadfast. So if he's rolling, I don't know how many expertise it is. I want to
2.
say
2
2.
X.
Yeah. If he's rolling 2 expertise, which you would imagine he gets on his focused shot because he does have sharpshooter too, he's able to generally get people off a point where okay, well, I'm steadfast, I don't really care about being in the middle of the point. Well, no, Gar Saxon, the expertise shove is ignore steadfast. So yeah, something to consider there as well. There's only a few units in the game that actually do that. Gar is one, Red Mandos are one, and I think is it Grief? Who's the other one? There's someone else who does it as well. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember.
One of the newer releases.
I don't think it's Grief. I think Grief does like disarm and
conditions. Yeah, he gives conditions with his expertise. Yeah, someone. But anyway, yeah, cool. All right. So there are our 4 core box secondary units. So now we're moving into our wave 1 units, and so we've got Commander Cody, everyone's favorite.
Cody.
Look, poor Cody. Everyone knows, that Cody kind of suffers a lot, just from being one of those early releases. And I think perhaps AMG overstated the strength of the 2 rerolls that he gives to hunkered clones, particularly under Kenobi, because like, oh well, everyone's going to have hunkers with Kenobi, and I just don't think it kind of played out the way they think.
Yeah, I expect something similar to that as well. Like, I mean, he's like one change away, from being decent, right? Like if you made his defensive maneuver commando doctrines, so he also got to focus off of that, he'd be great. Like,
oh
you know,
yeah.
it would turn him from a pretty bad character to a decent enough character. Like, it would make quite a big difference, I feel.
But do you think he would be? People would like put him in a Republic slot over.
I think the problem is he's. I feel like he's kind of overshadowed in his role by Crosshair, right? Like,
yeah, no, totally.
Like you're kind of like, well, I guess he's okay. Like, I think it would definitely improve him from where he is now, because the difficulty that he has is like he just can't get his dice up, right? Like he only really has those 6 dice because he doesn't have a way of focusing easily. So he's either very slow because you just get a dash and then you focus and shoot. And look, if you can do that, he's all right with his 9 dice. But yeah, look, there are other things that I would definitely change on him. Like his expertise is pretty bad. He doesn't have steadfast. He only rolls 4 defense. Like he's just not great. And I think you can kind of see how small his little radar graph is there.
Yeah. It's a little bit smaller than the rest. I'd really like to see Cody. 2 changes on Cody for me to make him really competitive in the Republic slot. Give him from his tactic. Give him the choice of an expose or maybe a dash. So you can choose to expose or you can choose to dash. I don't think that's probably a thing they're ever going to look at, but I don't think you can give him both, or the expose and then a dash. So, if you're not in range, you're not going to get anyone. But anyway, the second thing I'd like to see is give him like tactical network basically for clones.
Yeah, that could work.
And then I think that makes him much more competitive. People will actually start taking him, I think, in showdown rosters, but also maybe even Premier if you give him something like that in a Republic list. So anyway, poor Cody. I don't really think we need to talk a whole lot
Move
about
on
him.
to another
Pretty
absolutely
shit.
terrible
Yeah, yeah, Django Fett.
No, he's
I
horrible.
mean, can you just look? Just bear with me. Django's radar graph, Cody's radar graph. Just have a look at that. Far out.
Oi.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Django Fett bounty hunter doesn't miss.
I think we also struggled a little bit with how to classify some of his abilities because what's not so fast? Is it control? It kind of is. It's kind of like indirect control, but your opponent also can't do anything about it, really. But they can't turn it off. So we kind of gave that a little bit of score into attrition and a bit of score into control. Like the man does almost everything, right? He's got
Very
force
good.
refresh,
Diceless displacement.
diceless displacement. He's super
Out of
mobile.
activation damage.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
does
super
almost
mobile.
everything, right? Like obviously he's got no
Yeah.
revenge, but
He's
everything else he's very
he's
good at.
the only unit in the game at the moment that can turn off an activation before it even begins. Because I think, okay, maybe I go with a
Well,
character.
Grief can do it, right?
True. Yeah, no, that's a good call. That is a good call. Grief can certainly do it. But yeah, okay. Ignore that. But I'm thinking other characters where, okay, well, you've got deflect, and I take a chance and shoot you, and you just deflect into me and kill me and end my turn. Or I forgot that I've only got 2 damage left, and you kill me and I die. That there's a couple of things like that that can catch you out, and I think, yeah. I think everyone when they play around Django, they're like, "Oh, how much health do I have? Oh, can I risk activating near this Django?" Because he could just roll hot and then end your turn before it even begins. So Django is very good, right? There's a reason he's talked about in the community at large.
Yeah, he is very good. I know I was listening to Space Slugs earlier, one of their recent episodes. I think it was the one with Spiral where they were talking about sort of like
the state of the game.
Yeah, the state of the game, and they were saying Django's worst activation is he moves and pulls somebody off a point, and I'm like, that's not his worst activation. His worst activation is you draw him first, or you drew somebody else first, and you put them into reserve, and now you've drawn Django, and he just moves up onto a point.
Yeah,
because I think we played a game. We played a game recently where I did that with Django, and he just didn't have any impact on the rest of the game. It was like
because I knew that okay, well I can't activate anyone near him, who's damaged, and I can just play around that. Because are you really going to use a shadow point on Django when there's other more important things to go do?
Yeah. So like I think he is very good. He can do a whole lot, and if you draw him at the right time, he's going to be amazing. But he's not like this. Even though he's got 7+ on 5 out of the 6 aspects, it's not like my opponent's taking Django, I've lost. Like he's just not like that at all, right? You can definitely still play around him. You can still, sometimes you just like, okay, that's fine. Spend a force or spend 2 force. I'm not so fast. Okay, yeah, you put 2 or 3 damage on my character. It sucks, but I'm still doing my thing for that activation. So it's not like he's. I don't think either of us are calling for a nerf on Django. He's just
no, by no means.
A very good, solid character.
Yeah, I think once you get caught out by Django once or twice, you start to learn how to play around him pretty easily, and you just like any character, right? Just load him with conditions. Give Django a strain, and he's not going to not so fast you, because chances are he'll do more damage to himself than he does to you. So I mean, there's a couple of things to just look out for when you're playing against Django. I think what he's really good at is teaching like new and fresh players to the game. a couple of cool rule interactions that exist in their game and what to look out for when playing. So things like diceless displacement, the whole not so fast ability, getting some force refresh. So just things to look out for, and certain triggers to look out for as well. So he's quite a good player, a good unit for new players to play with and learn how the game works. And I think he's not complex. He's quite straightforward a character, and that's probably reflected in he's got lots of high scores across the board because he's straightforward things well. But there's more complex characters that they may look like they are worse to play, but you can still make them work and make them work more effectively than Django.
Yep, for
Uh,
sure.
Anyway, moving on. We don't want to harp on about Django all day. Here we get our second and final super tactical droid, and this one is Kraken. So he's bringing the same force efficiency as Kalani for the exact same reasons as Kalani. A little less mobility and a little less attrition because he is only he doesn't add dice to everyone. So he's quite good, and what he does better is in tenacity because he does get steadfast and protection, which is pretty important for him.
And
But
his mobility is kind of more flexible than Kalani's. Like Kalani's best
yes,
mobility is he's dashing 4 units, 4 characters, right? That's great.
yes.
Whereas Kraken's one is he can either pick a supporting unit and dash both of the characters in that unit, or he can dash himself, which is kind of good. Which Kalani can't do, right? Kalani can't dash himself.
No,
So
yeah.
from that aspect, this mobility, while it's one less than Kalani's, it's potentially more flexible. And as you said, he's got a bit more tenacity because he's got that 10 health. He's got protection. He's got steadfast. He's got, I think, better defensive dice as well.
I think by one, yeah,
Yeah.
in melee, yeah.
Yeah, but he obviously is also not bringing that extra dice. So I know some people will toss up, they'll only take one out of Kraken and Kalani, and a lot of people are like, I prefer Kraken with B2s, whereas I think I generally prefer Kalani with B1s.
B1s, me too. Yeah, that's why I go. Not that I've played a whole ton of separatists, but
And the bad guys, as you
bad
said.
guys. Look, I did take a separatist as my second force to CanCon. I took the strongest Republic list I knew how to play to CanCon, and then the second thing I took was separatists with Dooku and Asajj and all droids. So that was kind of fun. All droids and Django. I shouldn't say just all droids. Anyway, moving on to our next character. And we get Barriss Offee Jedi Padawan. And you can see there, she pretty much just brings control. She is a straight ice pick of control, being 10 there. She doesn't bring a lot of attrition. She doesn't bring a lot of tenacity because she is just a glass cannon. Her force efficiency, she wants to spend a lot of it. Generally, she wants to spend probably 3 on her turn sometimes. And yeah, so that control obviously comes in the form that she gets 4 shoves on her combat tree if she gets them, and she can force push range 3 away, which that's really all you're bringing her for, right? That control, that, well, you can't stop me from doing anything. So if she's playing into those dark troopers, she's either going to push them off the point, or she can't force push them. So she's going to be able to push them off the point and force push somebody else. So she's really good at capping a point for you. And yeah, 4 shove is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think, like she definitely just, yeah, like exactly like you said, you're taking her for that ability to control the board, and she does it really, really well, right? And that's why her control is 10, because yeah, like it's 4 shoves on 4 as well. Like it's not like
it's like
4 shoves are on 3 to 6 or something. It's 4 shoves on 4. So she can just obviously push somebody off a point regardless of what have they got steadfast or whatever. She can push them off the point with all those shoves, and then that force push.
She kind of, to me, she kind of feels like, and this may be a hot take, she kind of feels like a tactics card in MCP. You flip her once, and
When she
she
dies.
does a thing, she score the point, and then she'll just go and die. Like you kind of lose her straight away. So I mean, unless you got Kenobi and she can bounce back on a point, but particularly, I guess she's seen most. I mean, generally, when she was used a lot, she was seen most with Vader, uh, and she
Vader
just
one.
takes. Yeah, Vader 1. She just takes 2 damage. She's got what, 6 left. Her defenses are pretty like awful, particularly being shot at. So yeah, I
Yeah, I
don't
think
think she sees longevity.
I look. I think she's an interesting piece. Like, I think if we get like, it will be interesting to see what we get from the Jedi that are coming out early next year, right? Because if there's a really force efficient Jedi, like I could see her being played in like a mace list where, if she does have 8 health and she's got slip away, right, and she's got faithful Padawan and all these things, like there's a lot on her card that you could kind of combine to eventually make it so that she's not just the tactics card, which you flip her
Yeah.
once and then she's useless. But she is definitely that scalpel, right? Like she just goes in there and goes, go away, and you go away too, and cool, we've just taken this point.
Yeah, I know. I certainly agree. Look, I did play her in a mace list recently, and we'll talk about that on Shadow Pointed in our next episode. But yes, she does her job well, and particularly sitting next to Jedi, she is getting extra dice to do that attack, to get the extra force push or whatever she needs. So um, yes, she is good for that reason. But yes, just a very specialist tool. Like I think she can have a better turn than Django.
Yeah.
But it's reliant on her not being wounded sometimes, because she doesn't want to spend 2 force all the time, or 3 force would be crazy, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, she's quite a good control piece, nonetheless. I guess we move on to our next character, and that'll be Padawan Ahsoka Tano. Um,
Why does she have different color pattern?
I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, so Padawan and Ahsoka, because her lightsabers are
The
two
lightsabers are slightly different shades of green.
color. Yeah, so I wanted people to be like, "Is that off? Is that not the right?" Yeah, it is. Yeah. All right, good. It's meta. It's meta.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So you can see here her highest stat is in mobility, and I mean, there's a load of reasons for that. Um, obviously she can jump twice in her turn, with, I don't know what it's called. Someone help me out here.
I don't know.
That ability, I don't know, I haven't played her in such a long time. Anyway, the jumpy thing that she does, I don't know what it's called. Anyway, is it just force jump?
She is fearless. There you go.
She is fearless. There you go. She does get to dash Jedi primary, or Galactic Republic primary, with her tactics ability. So she is giving movement to a team. She's got a jump on her defensive expertise tree. She's quite mobile from her combat stance, and she also gets a jump when and it's free to start when a supporting Galactic Republic unit makes an attack. She can jump and make an attack against the same target. So she is very mobile. She's very good at getting around the board, which is obviously where that top stat there, mobility, comes from. Did you want to say anything about her? Apart from the fact that
it's just mobility, right? She got all the jumps in the world.
Yeah, and she's got some shoves as well, which is nice.
Yeah. I think she, like she's a solid unit. Like I've played her a decent amount and enjoyed her. Obviously the lack of ranged attack hampers her attrition score somewhat.
Of course.
And she caps out at pretty low damage. I think it's like 7 or something.
Still enough to win clones.
Yes, yeah. I think that's relevant earlier in the game, somewhat less relevant recently.
Yes, totally. Yeah, I think apart from the fact that her radar graph looks like a Star Destroyer silhouette, Yeah, I think she's pretty good. I don't know if a lot of people had a whole chance to play her because I know she was like that early release that only a few people got, and by the time that Plo came out, I think there was so much else out that maybe not a lot of people picked her up. But she's certainly a unit worth checking out if you're playing Republic and particularly in a Premier list. Aside from that, I think we can. Oh, another thing to note is she's actually the first secondary with a revenge trigger. So I think there's only 3 in total secondaries that do have a revenge ability, and that's either to deflect or you wound me, I get to smack you back. So there's not a whole lot. You'll see that as a theme moving forward through secondaries and particularly supports. That revenge is just not a thing that they're able to do. It seems like a thing stuck to primaries mostly.
Yep.
Moving on, we get Commander Wolf. So I guess not really anybody's go-to secondary in Republic. I know a lot of people have thought, oh yeah, he'll work in this list, he'll work in that list, but I just don't think. I think he gets overshadowed a whole lot by most units, right?
Yeah, I think well, like this was the kind of interesting thing is when I looked at him and I was trying to look at his stats and I compared them versus Rex. I'm like, they do actually like Wolf kind of compares very favorably to Rex, but then it's like this is that whole aspect of these are just broad indications, right? Because in practice, I find Wolf performs a lot worse than Rex. But there are some things that he does well, like the climb can be really good. He doesn't tend to want to use tons of force, and he can do he can do decent amounts of damage with pretty good dice as well. So, and then that not being able to turn off crits of allied clone troopers within 5, I think I didn't when it first came out. It was kind of like, now we've got Bad Batch, so it's like, ooh, something to consider.
So I think what you're saying is the difference between him and Rex is kind of like something in theory and something in practice. So kind of like, let's say if you had a PhD in cultural studies and breakdancing and then actually tried it out yourself, so I think there's a huge difference. I think, you've got old mate Rex is a little bit like Raygun. And the name fits. And then, someone, sorry, Wolf is Raygun and then Rex is an actual serious breakdancer.
I don't know. I think Wolf, Wolf, look, maybe at some point in the future, Wolf's going to go off, but yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, look, he could. Yeah, it's a good call. All right. We'll take a move on now to. All right, okay. So Obi-Wan Kenobi out. No, okay.
Come on, go back. What's bad though is that her radar graph is bigger than Cody's.
Yeah.
Look, she's just not great, and I think anybody who's tried to play her quickly realizes that she's not just great. She's just not that great. She does have, I think, the mobility thing is kind of cool. In that,
but it costs a force.
It does. I know that's why her force efficiency is lower. And she's got a jump, so yay, jumps are good. Otherwise, and she's again got a revenge. She's got that deflect.
Yeah, one of 3, like I've said.
Yeah, and she's got some shoves. It's just everything else on her is just very bad.
Well, here's another question for you. Does she outplace any, and I mean any, not even at her own points cost, any Empire secondary unit?
No.
Yeah.
No.
The answer is no.
I even Stormtrooper Sergeant at 3, I'd probably rather take him. Look, she's got more mobility than Stormtrooper Sergeant though. Like Stormtrooper Sergeant, his thing is he can't move himself, right? He can full advance someone else, which is great. But he can't move himself. So I don't know. Maybe there are going to be situations where you're like, you know what? If I had third sister versus Stormtrooper Sergeant, I would have won. They're just going to be very few and far between. It's just not really good.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think Um, Jeff had when we played our underused league. Jeff took, Grand Inquisitor and a third sister there, and he had an absolute blinder of a game with her. She like rolled like all crits every time. She was unstoppable, and he's like, "Wow, I couldn't believe it. Everyone's talking shit about it. It's the first time I've used her, and she's gone off chops." And I'm like, "Dude, that's never gonna happen again. Like,
Play
you
her
have
again.
to, yeah, yeah." And I don't think he did. He's gonna rest on his laurels as the greatest third sister player in the world, just because she had one good game. I mean, that's kind of like when you turn 18 and you go to the pokies for the first time, you put $10 in, and then you pull $11 out. And you're like, I've beat the pokies. I'm $1 up for the rest of my life. I'll never have to play this again. I think that's kind of like the attitude he took to third sister.
I just wouldn't go in the first time when you turn 18. That's your best bet.
Yes, for me it was FIFA packs instead of the pokies, which is pretty much the same thing. Yeah.
And also, what was it, Galaxy of Heroes?
Yeah, I totally got into that. But that's not random. Oh, that's kind of is more random. Yeah. I
That's
got
still
super
around
into
as well. I saw an ad for it. They've got the what are they? The troopers from Ahsoka.
Oh,
ones with
the Night
gold.
Troopers and
Yeah,
Enoch.
the ones with the gold thing through their armor. Yeah.
Yeah, which makes no sense, but don't get me. I'm writing that. I'm on
Yeah.
episode 3. I'm up to episode 3. I've written, I don't know how long it is now. It's something like
You're gonna be your PhD.
I've converted words to minutes so far, and I'm about an hour in. If I just spoke at a normal pace, and
All right, let's move on to that next one. We already know what it's gonna be.
Kenobi out of hiding, which is he's got a cool graph, right? So a lot of control, a lot of tenacity, a lot of mobility. That's kind of where he sits. So I mean, obviously that tenacity is coming from his mind trick, and I think the control there a bit is also coming from the mind trick.
Yeah, like I mean, this is another one where we kind of had a bit of a struggle to figure out how, like, what is mind trick? Is it control? Is it tenacity? And I think in the end, I was like, I firmly believe it's tenacity, right? Because it to some degree, yeah, like it there is an aspect of control in it, right? In that it can, if you're a melee unit and there's only one there, and then Obi-Wan's turned it off, then yeah, it sucks. Your attack's gone. But mostly it's this whole Obi-Wan goes onto a point and he's like, I'll just hold this myself because nobody can really, stop me, right? Because
That's
I'm
right.
just gonna turn off the attacks. On the other hand, though, diceless displacement could potentially move him off. But I think, yeah, the other aspect is that of his that's really good is that mobility, and it's because he has run, and run is an amazing tactic.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I'm a little bit. How do I say this? I disagree with with, and I think we talked about this. I think mind control is sorry, yeah, not mind trick. Sorry, hang on, I'm getting confused.
Mind trick
Thank you. I'm
is
I think mind
control.
trick is more control than it is. But that's just me, and I'm probably wrong, and that's fine. You explained it obviously well, and you've kind of matched it up with the way we did it, and so yeah, I'm happy to see it there in.
Yeah, I think in the end we put a few points into control. Like he does have shoves on 2 and 3, right? Like he's got a bit of ability to shove him by himself when he's acting, so that comes into a little bit of his control. But then we also gave him some points for mind tricking control, because there is an aspect of that you're talking about, which is if I'm preventing my opponent from attacking or attacking what they want, that is controlling the board state outside of the norm, right? And turning off an attack obviously is doing that, right? But
Particularly on those Jedi with melee attacks
yes,
only, and if you're the only person target on the point, yeah, like, yeah.
but I think mostly it comes down to that tenacity in that he can turn off an attack, so he can stop somebody from being attacked. And then even if it is redirected, it's with 2 dice less, and it's, if they focus, then they lose the focus. If they had sharpshooter, they've lost that. If they've taken Vader 1 damage, that's gone as well. Like there's a lot of ways that mind trick helps to reduce damage that your units are going to take. I don't think it's like, again, I know there's a lot of Obi-Wan Kenobi out of hiding is ridiculous. He's S tier, blah 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 blah. I think you play around this tenacity, and it's that kind of thing of, again, when you're more experienced, you understand how to play around it, and you're probably not going to get into that. Oh no, I've fallen into your trap, and I lose my attack, and I can't do anything. It's unlikely that that's going to happen. And even if it does have a cost, right? And that's why his force efficiency is low, because he's going to be. It's not like mind trick's free, right? It takes 2 force.
If you can get a wound on him, he's gonna really struggle.
Yeah, you can't just use it constantly.
No, of course. And I think, baiting him into using it is sometimes very good, because you can, like, particularly at the beginning of like struggle 2 or 3, if you can bait an Kenobi out of hiding into using 2 force, that's hampering a team a whole lot. Even because you might not even need the attack. Or let's say, it's the end of struggle 1, you're going to win, and then, you bait them into doing that. Maybe a deck's just refreshed, that you don't need to attack because you've got the struggle down, and then if your opponent was like, okay, well, yeah, I guess I got to, otherwise I might get wounded here or something, you're going to get a big benefit from it. So sometimes his own mind trick can work against him.
Yeah, I think mind trick can go both ways. Right?
Certainly.
You got to mind trick the Obi-Wan player as well. Like,
the
I full attack onto this one, or am I okay with 2 less dice into the other one?
That's right. Yeah, you got to pick. I think the only thing I would change, like, I know people are calling for him to be nerfed. The only thing I would change on Kenobi out of hiding is that mind trick should probably be within range 3 of the enemy unit. That's the only thing I would change. Just because, just thematically, I don't really, just the words, right?
Yeah,
a Jedi mind trick doesn't work on your ally. Like, you're not mind tricking the ally into not being attacked. You're mind tricking the enemy into not attacking your ally. So it's the one thing I would change, but that's okay. Not a huge deal. All right, moving on. Into a man who has just as much control. No, wait, what? 0 control. Savage Oppress. And
Savage. Come on, man.
No, Savage. It says, look at it. It says Savage. I don't give a fuck about your fancy French pronunciation. All right. They don't write the name like that and then not expect you to think he's savage. All right. That's exactly what they've done. Savage. Yeah. You can see he's got pretty much an empty bottom side of that graph there. But yeah, very good at hitting things if he rolls well, right? Like, that's all he's got.
Yeah, I think it's also Dark Fury, right? So he does have that an ability that allows him to do damage as well, which, as we've seen with Kanan, that's one way that you can play around Kanan, is that if you've got abilities that do damage, then that doesn't trigger Kanan's revenge. So that's another aspect to consider in his attrition. But yeah, I struggle I struggle to get much out of Savage or Savage, just because it's all dice. It's just dice, and sometimes quite often the dice just betray me, and I roll my whatever it is, seven dice or 9 dice if it's a primary, and I get 2 successes, and I'm just like, yay.
Yeah, I think it was interesting. I think I played. I'm pretty sure it was Rusty in the last league that we ran. So Uncivilized. No, it wouldn't have been So Uncivilized. No, it wouldn't have been, because he wouldn't have been able to bring Savage. No, ignore me. It must have been the underused or something. Anyway, he brought Savage for something. I can't remember, but I didn't have any Jedi. I wasn't using any Jedi. So he kind of, because he, that Dark Fury exposes Force users, and he had something else to do with Force users on his side. So it was a little bit harder to manage there.
Yeah.
I think maybe Django. When Django wins a Force user, does he get something?
Grievous does.
So maybe it was Grievous. Yes, it was Grievous. Sorry. Yes. Cool. Anyway, yeah, not much to say here. He's just a big beat stick. Moving on to everyone talks shit about Pons. All right, I'm a big fan of Pons. I mean, look at his force efficiency. Look at how much he's bringing for your squad, guys. Come on. He's,
I think that's the main thing, right? Is you don't spend force on Pons because
he doesn't need any. He can't.
You can't.
And even
So,
Mace doesn't spend any force really either.
true.
And he's bringing 4, and he can refresh a bunch. So yeah, look, Mace and Pons, I do love them. I think I may be one of the only Pons lovers in the world. That's okay. Everyone deserves love from someone.
I think the main thing that you take Pons for is he's very force efficient. He can choose another Allied Galactic Republic character and dash them. So again, you can choose a primary, right? So you can choose a primary, and that's pretty good. And the thing is, if you roll well, he can do 7 damage, right?
Yeah, he's not bad.
So he can kill a clone.
His expertise or Night Sister Acolyte. I have shadow pointed Pons plenty of times just because I'm like, you know what?
He's fine, and particularly for 3. I think
he's fine for 3. I think in your sorry, not your acting. You're saying, okay, why do you bring Pons for this, and this? I'll tell you exactly why you bring Pons. Mace Windu. It's the only reason you're actually bringing Pons.
Yeah, I don't. I think there aren't many situations where you go, I'm taking Obi-Wan Kenobi and Pons.
Yeah, you wouldn't play a point down for Pons, whereas you play a point down for the ARFs.
Right.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Aura Singh. There's not a whole lot of good. I don't think. I think. Look, I may be too negative here. I think there's a lot of people that fill her spot within, kind of that have her tags that can do what she does better. I think Jango Fett is that example. I think you play a point down with Cad Bane to bring Jango instead of Aura almost every time. I know Aura's got 2 attacks, but she can't 2 attack and hit and run, right? Because they work off the same trigger. It's a bit dumb.
Look, I think she misses the mark, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Like for a 5, she's not bringing enough to the table. I know that she's a favorite character of some people, and she's moderately fast. She can do a little bit of damage. I just think she's missing the mark. Now there might be some crazy wacky list where she makes sense. That's fine. You can look into that when you're kind of more experienced. But yeah, like as you said, I think if you just Cad Bane box, cool, drop that in. Just take out Aura, put Jango in there, and you'll have a much better time.
Yeah. As you can see by the radar graph.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not really going to spend much more time on her. I don't think. Well, we can move on. To Sabe Royal Bodyguard, who is quite mobile. She's very mobile.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, and tell me, Red Mando 2, tell me, what gives her mobility?
So there's a few different things that give her mobility. So
wow.
Yeah. So she's got a tactic. She's got a tactic, right? Which is where each allied handmaiden, so herself typically, and then you take the handmaidens, they can dash towards an allied primary character. So she's dashing 3 people there, which is pretty good. Then she's got that exposed flank where she can climb.
Yeah.
And she's got coordinated assault dash. So that's pretty crazy because when somebody else shoots, then she can dash herself. So she can dash all over the place, get back onto points if she's been pushed off a point, and then somebody within 5, does an attack. Oh, sorry. If a targeted character within 5 of her gets attacked, then she can make a dash. So Yeah, she's got a lot of mobility from all of those abilities that she's got there. And then her tenacity that she's got there, because she's got bodyguard, right? So she's giving herself and primary friendlies within 2 and other allied secondaries cover 1. So that's a nice little bit of extra dice that she's got. And she can also hand it out to other secondaries and primaries.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of people look at her and think, okay, well, I'm not gonna take her in, Republic necessarily with other things, but I think you probably can. She might not be the go-to, but that what's it called? Coordinated offensive. Is it coordinated fire?
Coordinated assault.
Assault. That's what it's dash. Yeah, I think that has a lot of legs, particularly to get around the board.
Yeah, she's also got crazy expertise on with her gun, right? Like it scales crazy. Like 2 gives her 3. It's a crit and 2 hits.
Hmm.
And then 4 is giving her the crit and 3 hits. So she's generally rolling 9 dice, because you're going to use that exposed flank, get the 2 extra. So she's rolling 9 dice. It's only range 4, which is a bit disappointing, but it's only a little pistol, so it makes sense. Yeah, so she's like, I don't think she's a bad Republic secondary at all.
No, not by any means. She's
Probably
no Cody.
Yeah, I think the weakest thing on her is just that because she's probably they're thinking you're taking her with Padme, and Padme can add the extra 2 damage. I think she caps out at a fairly low amount of damage,
Right.
which means that yes, you get those 9 dice, and you get good expertise, but you can't necessarily convert that into wounding somebody all the time.
Yeah, fair call. Cool. All right. Let's take a look at our next character, who is Stormtrooper Sergeant. Now, he is a 3-cost Empire support. Came in that Vader box, and I think he's pretty on par for a 3, because he levels up pretty well with Pons, right?
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
He's got more health, and he has that kind of. Is that what he has? Coordinated offensive, the Stormtrooper dice thing.
Yeah.
Is that the one that's called that?
Yeah.
So I mean, yes, he is giving a little bit an extra dice there. Yeah, but I think for the most part, he just does what a 3-point does, right? So you can see their mobility and force efficiency, his higher stats, because he is giving the advance to his troops, his supports, Galactic Empire supports get an advance. Sorry, it costs him a damage though, and then bringing 6 force efficiency, because generally he doesn't want to spend much, because his active ability gives out what is it? It's a pin or a disarm, is it?
Yeah, so pin or disarm, yes.
Pin is very good. I don't know how useful disarm is generally.
Yeah, like if it's Vader or something, you might do it.
Not Vader 2 though, because he's just going to heal it off.
No, that's right. But anybody who has great expertise, you might put the
Yeah. Look, fair call. I think he's pretty standard for a 3 threat, and I don't really think we.
I think he compares favorably to Pons, to be honest.
Just a little. I think he comes out just on top. Yeah.
And probably it's because he has 9 health. That 2 extra health makes quite a bit of difference.
Huge, because most characters can do 7 damage.
A lot of characters can do 7, and Pons, unfortunately,
7. Yeah.
Whereas
So
9 is a lot harder, right? Like there are plenty of characters who can't get to 9.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah,
So
you kind of,
you're extremely unlikely to get one shot, right?
yeah.
With Stormtrooper Sergeant is extremely unlikely to get one shot. So now it's at least 2 activations, or it's some extra chip damage from somewhere else, and it just makes it that much harder for him. That's reflected in that tenacity that he has there, and that he does have 9 health, which is really nice for for a secondary.
Secondary. Yeah. Yep.
And a 3-point secondary at that.
Yeah. Good call. Good call. All right. Moving on to Bausch, and for some reason her image has disappeared. So you just have to pretend she's there. I don't know where her image is
She's
gone.
a spy, mate. She's just
She's a
undercover.
spy. She's
Yeah,
blending
she's undercover.
in. Wow.
Can't-
I should have probably refreshed the PowerPoint before starting this to make sure that all the
Right.
images were in. But okay.
can't-
Look, the graph's in. That's something. Yeah. So she's got high attrition, and a little bit of control there. But I think the problem with her control is that you have to have the force to spend to get her force push, and if she's not getting that force every single time, I don't really see an option to take her. Her expertise is also criminally bad.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Is like her attrition score is high, but she's kind of like Savage in that it's dice, right? And it's probably worse than Savage because it's her, as you said, her expertise is just not great, right? So you have to get real lucky to get the full value of that attrition that's showing up there, and most of the time you're not likely to get that.
No.
So I think, you know, as Duravar was saying, if you've got the force to spend on Bausch every turn, she's great, and if you don't, she's not very good.
No.
I think fan out though, so that mobility, so she can reposition at the start of her activation, or she can choose another allied spy and give them reposition. That's again very good. Obviously not as good as run, but
what was that again?
Run. But it's still a good ability.
I wonder if she gets play with now the Death Star layer box. There's a lot of spies there. You've got her. Luke's got a similar ability to fan out, and then you'll have Lando and R2. And if you can just find another primary in that 7-point slot, even they could be bringing 8, I suppose. Even
who's the first primary?
Well, Death Star layer. Oh no, duh.
Yeah. I was like, wait.
Oh my days! I was gonna say a lot of mobility there. Fuck, too many layers. Too many layers.
I know, right?
Already.
I know. Is like Leia's the character we have the most of now, right?
Yeah, oh, there's 3 of her. Yeah, there's only 2
Yeah.
Kenobis. Yeah, and I think that's the next highest, right? Kenobi with 2.
Oh,
Vader with 2. Yeah, but Luke with 2 now.
I guess you could say
Han and Chewie with 2. Okay, there you go.
3 Anakins.
Okay, yeah, fair call. Well, look, just R2D2 even has 2. A lot of people already at 2. Clones. There's a lot of clones, I guess, but
true.
Anyway, moving on. Let's hope the next image loads. Ah, there they are. Look at these fellas.
Oh, look at them.
Look at them. The tiniest little graph you've seen.
Is it smaller than Cody's? Is the question? Because I don't know. Maybe that probably is. They just
Cody didn't have. Yeah, they don't do a lot at all. I think they are the worst activation in the game.
Yeah, I don't understand. I'm lost for words.
You're lost for words.
Yeah, I don't know how these guys get released. Is my question. Like
they're not for playing. No one will play them.
Who went? Yeah, 4-point cost secondary. These guys are worth it. What?
Would you bring? Here's the question. If you're going into battle and you get to pick your squad, are you bringing fucking C-3PO?
Look, maybe there is.
No.
Well, maybe there's some amazing C-3PO that comes out that has like this.
No.
Look, if we had C-3PO that had Gideon Hask's identity, maybe.
No, I'm saying in the Star Wars universe, you're going into battle. Are you going to bring Mr. Oh my everywhere? No, you're not bringing that dickhead anywhere, right? So that's the choice. It's a meta choice.
I agree. Like, I think there are so many more interesting things that they could have done with these guys. Like, like they've got that whole divine influence thing.
Yeah.
Where, like, depending upon what stance you're in, scouts get something, and then warriors get something if you're in the other.
Yeah.
Give them both. Who cares?
Yeah, it doesn't
Still
actually
not good
change a
enough.
whole lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's still not good enough. Like, I
because
don't know,
one's for
maybe
warriors and one's for scouts, so it doesn't. They're both not getting it anyway.
that's right. I'm like, just giving them both of those abilities. Like, it's just still not going to be good enough. I don't know. Maybe they just like you can't target them with ranged abilities, so they figured, "Whoa, that's just insane." It's not. It's really not.
I mean, yeah. Look, I think it's definitely a good guy droid thing they're doing. So you think about all the droid units they've released that are on the light side of the Force, and they all have that ability to not be targeted by ranged attacks if they're in the deck, right? Oh, see, these guys don't have to be in the deck,
These
do
guys
they?
don't. Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's what's probably has been overvalued here. Is they're like you move them onto a point and then they can't get shot, and you're like, okay,
So how do they get to that point? They're not getting on the point.
exactly. They're so slow. They have the mobility 3 because all they get is their advance, and
Yes.
that's it.
Yes. Yeah. Wait till we
No,
get the. Oops. Wait till we get the Jabba the Hutt unit to come out, and he has no movement at all.
he just has a dash.
It just. Yeah, it just has the dash. He's got unlimited health, but yeah, and you have to target him if you're near him. No. All right, moving on. We have Wicket, Sticky Wiki, the intrepid warrior, who's got quite an even stat spread apart from Revenge, right? So it's mostly 6s with the 5, and so you read that and you're like, wow, what a balanced, character. He sounds great, and I think in an Ewok squad, he's probably one of your stars. He certainly does a lot.
I agree.
Yeah,
Because I
he's
know
really.
you were keen on Wicket when we
Yeah, and I still
you
am. Yeah, like I don't think I think yeah, we definitely made a mistake. Me particularly overhyping maybe the Ewoks. I thought they were going to be such a strong mainstay release, just because of their swarm. But I think people figured them out really easily, and they wound super easy, and they don't get enough through on their trees generally. So yeah, but I think with Chewbacca out and the Rebel Commandos out, I think we may see more play with Ewoks, but I think people have just kind of gone off them a bit. It's so hard to compete with the Empire at the moment and their complete dominance and murder of everything, apart from Kanan. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
look, I think Wicket is like exactly as the aspects show. He's a very solid character.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he's just very solid. He's got like he's is he the Rex of the Ewoks?
It's an interesting call.
Right? Like he kind of is, right? And then he's helping supporting units. He's getting quite a bit of movement. So he's got the double dash with his tactics and his stealthy approach. He quite force efficient because you're probably just using that stealthy approach. I don't know how often you use the hunting horn. And he's decently tough, got good defensive expertise, rolls good dice. I think what he's let down by is his maximum damage on his attrition is not super high.
But that's like a theme for all Ewoks.
That's right, and it's kind of late. It's like where is it here? Yeah, so it's like third and four, like his third and fourth square is where he pumps out 4 damage. So on 2 and 3 he's only doing 2 and then 4, like, so he's not typically doing tons of damage. But like, yeah, I think he's pretty solid. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like, it would have been cooler if he did get like Rebel Alliance or something, so that then you can take him outside of, like, you could take him with Rebels outside of
Endor Leia.
Yeah. I don't know. Is
Yeah.
he in is he in Caravan of Courage?
I never saw it, so I don't know.
I'll have to watch it again. Maybe we'll get a second release of Wicket. Caravan of Courage Wicket.
A caravan of carriage again. Fuck yeah, that's what everyone's hollering for.
That's
Oh
it.
Jesus Christ! All right,
Can I
let's
give you
move.
a little? I've just detected two students in the Discord. By the way.
What do you mean? Who?
I've just figured out two students
How have you done that? What
because
happened?
they were using the server and I jumped in and saw and then I messaged them.
Ah, excellent.
Anyways, moving on.
We'll salt them out later. We'll get to them. All right, moving on. We have Paplu, curious creature. And I think he's. I mean, just by looking at his radar graph there, you can certainly see that he's not quite as good as Wiki, and I think it's reflected as well. I think he's got a really cool ability to turn expertise against somebody when attacking them, but aside from that unique and kind of cool mechanic, I don't think he brings a whole lot to your squad.
I think the problem is also that yeah, you can use that expertise chart, but then you lose out on a lot of potential damage. Like he can, he's got 2 on 1, then he's got 2 on 3, and then he's got 2 on his 5th one. Right, so you're like, where? Like I'm not getting tons of damage, but then he's got damage in his expertise tree. If you can roll that sweet 1, then you get a crit.
So
and
you
2
want
yeah. So if you're like, I can always roll 1 on my expertise in melee, then you're like, okay, cool. On 1 success, he's doing 4 damage, a shove, and probably you're probably going to get a second one. You get strain or whatever, and you're like, that's pretty all right. And on 3, I'm doing 6 damage, but it's just not going to work out like that a lot of the time.
maybe you need Callus to give you rerolls of your
Your
expertise.
expertise.
I'll keep the fails. I'll reroll my expertise. Yeah.
Unfortunately, only 1, but oh no, 2. It'd be 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's interesting, but yeah, outshone by Wicket, I think.
And Chewbacca. I think as soon as Chewbacca came out, I think anyone
Yes.
who was playing Endor Steel just replaced Paplu straight away.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, and we get. Oh no, his image is missing as well.
Oh, it's because he's just so good.
He's so
He's all
good.
black, so his armor's all black, so he's blended in with
Oh man, this is. Oh god.
this is Red Mando quality.
It certainly is. I'm sorry if you're watching along. I'm sorry if you're listening along too, because we do not sound like we're gravel. We're gravel in a blender is what we sound like. But anyway, great. We have Death Trooper Escort here, and he is Black Rex, but I mean his graph is a little bit better than Rex. He's got an amazing mobility. He's got great attrition and fantastic tenacity. That mobility given to the Empire supporting units, that if they have a damage, they can get a full reposition. He can and that's both of them, both characters in a unit, and he can also give himself a reposition if he's damaged, and if no one's damaged, gives them a dash instead, or himself a dash, which is amazing, right? So there's a lot he can influence there. His tenacity, although his defensive expertise is regular clone expertise, he does have protection, and he's got that disciplined ability, which is okay, great. You know what? You've attacked me. You've moved me off a point. Well, congratulations. I spend a force. I reposition back onto that point. Thanks for coming, and I'll have a hunker on top. So amazing. I think he's so good. I think if you've got a choice of 4 points in Empire, it's a real toss-up at the moment between him and Gideon Hask, I think.
I think Hask brings so much. It's tough to go past Hask.
I think Hask, yes, does, but I don't know. Like apart from the ISF just dealing damage, they don't bring any shoves, right? So if the ISF are attacking someone who's tough to kill, then they're relying on dice to win a point. Whereas you know, if the ISF are shooting into Dark Troopers, for instance, well, you're going to do absolutely nothing. They're not doing anything to that point. So I just,
ISF are shooting into Dark Troopers, did you say?
yeah,
I think that's almost one of the best. Like, I don't know, like ISF pump damage, man. But anyway, we can talk about them.
yeah, the Dark Troopers have protection and they get to turn a whole bunch of your dice off. Like they're a hard
They can
support.
turn crits down, yeah, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, well, moving on.
Look, I think great character, right? Like very, very
So good.
tenacious, very mobile, good attrition because he's probably rolling more dice than Rex most of the time because he can get 9 pretty easily, but he's loses a little bit in control because he doesn't have the two shoves, sorry, on 2, but still a fantastic option.
Yeah, certainly. Very good. Okay, moving on. Guam. I see Guam's pictures here, but Death Troopers Escort's not. What the fuck? Okay. All right, Guam.
What do you think of Guam?
I don't think about Guam. I forgot he was a character until I looked at this.
I think he's one of those characters you kind of had to build around making him decent. He's not a drop him into any list and he'll be okay. He definitely, you need to build around making him good.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's kind of considering taking him in many lists. I think you're only going to bring him.
Look, I think definitely rogue support have some lists. Has a list with Guam in it, and it's quite interesting, and it's designed to fix the deficiencies that he has. Right, the main deficiency that he has is he's rolling 5 dice and doesn't have a real easy way of getting the focus that he needs. He's kind of like Cody. He's kind of like weak way Cody.
Right. Yeah.
He starts with poor dice. If you can get a focus onto him, he gets decent dice. But yeah, I think building around the scoundrel tag and stuff, then he starts to get crazy dice, right? Where he's like, maybe he's getting 10 dice potentially, right? And then you're like, okay, 10 dice with his combat stance card, good expertise and stuff, then it starts to become good. But he's definitely not a drop him into a list and he's going to perform. It's more like if I stack all of these things on top together, then I get value out of Guam, but generally you don't.
Generally you don't. Yeah, very cool. All right, moving on. That was a good kind of summary there of Guam. We have the man that Jeff likes to call Beef Karga. I should have called Ahsoka Pins because he calls her Pins as well.
Yep.
So Beef, as you can see here, bringing mainly control, and that's because he's got that what's it called, mandate type ability where he's breaking ties. And I think that's the crux of it, right?
Yeah, I think there's 2 things, right? So yeah, he's got that mandate, which is great on a secondary unit. That's cool. He's also got that whole there is one job thing, which designates somebody as a priority target so that you can get extra momentum. And he's got that close the deal thing to give somebody else when somebody activates from reserve, a bounty hunter can go off and do stuff. He's an interesting character. I've never been able to get him again to perform well for me. He does have some mobility because he can give bounty hunters within 4 a heal and a dash, which is pretty cool. But his mobility, his personal mobility, is just the advance.
Right.
And the other thing that I find is he only has 5 dice. So he's really lacking.
He struggles a lot.
Yeah, so I think again, it's going to be one of these things of if you build around him and build into Scoundrel tag and probably play Hondo and go, oh, that's fine. That gives me 7. Okay, well, 7 dice is fine. He's all right with 7 dice. He probably gets his reposition because it's on 3 potentially. But yeah, I struggle a little bit with grief. Haven't found success in the times that I've played him.
Yeah, no, that's a fair call, and I haven't even put him to the table, I don't think. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think most of the time you're bringing him for the mandate. Otherwise, you build around him, and building around him is not reflected in his radar chart at all.
No, yeah, no, that's a fair call. All right, moving on from Beef into Rekka and Omega. And they have a really amazing tenacity of 10. And there's a lot of things they do, and I think the big thing is that whole clone bubble they provide, particularly around their fellow Bad Batch unit. So they're giving that steadfast and protection to Bad Batch and to general clones in their vicinity of range 3. They are giving protection without any conditions. So the only condition is you have to be a clone. So they're very good, I think, and they've got 10 health and protection, so really they go up immediately to 11, and if you have to take them on a couple of times, 12, 13, 14 health, and they get on Rekka's side of the stance card, they've got heals on that defensive stance, and then on Omega side of the stance card, they get heals in attack. So they are a very, very, very survivable unit.
Yeah, I think the 10 health is huge. Particularly, they got good defense dice as well on the Omega side. They've got crit mitigation. They've got a
Yeah.
dash. They got a dash as well. So you think a 10 health unit with protection and steadfast, rolling 5 and 5, and on 3 they have a block, turn a crit off, and have a dash. I mean, it's almost like what more do you want from a tenacious, from a unit that's focused around giving you that tenacity? What more could you want? They're very very good in that aspect.
And they love Kenobi.
They do, of course. Yeah, they absolutely adore playing with Kenobi, and they've got, I guess, quite rare in that they do have the option of, it does cost 2 force, but they could make 2 attacks in
True.
a turn, and they're full attacks as well. So it's not quite as good as Anakin, but they can do that, and they've also got the I wasn't sneaking, which is another of these roll 5 attack dice, and then somebody takes a damage for crits and hits. So again, another good way of getting around the Kanan type revenge.
Well, I think what's great about their one is if you do manage to wound a unit in
You get
that way,
momentum there.
yeah, you get extra momentum, which is really cool. And I think, I think you'd purposefully tee a unit up just to have 1 health remaining
Sure. Yeah.
to do that and get a second momentum for a force. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah. So I think they can actually put out a surprising amount of damage. Otherwise, if you get lucky, you can. Obviously, they got bulldoze, right, which is pretty good. It's
amazing.
only a 1 shove.
But that can get someone off a point.
But it can get somebody off a point. It can knock somebody off the elevation that you want, because you don't even have to be engaged with them.
That's right. Yeah, you can be on another level.
You just have to end within 1, and then you can shove.
That's right. Yep, that's right.
And you can shove, like if you're above them, and you can shove somebody underneath you, whatever. So yeah, like they're a very solid secondary.
Yeah, no, and I think they're a big. So I think between them and Rex, they're probably my go-to secondaries in Republic, for the way I like to build my lists, a bit more defensive using Kenobi. But yeah, they're very good. All right, moving on into Crosshair, another man who steals the limelight when it comes to Republic secondaries. His main stat is attrition there, and that comes from number one, his tactics ability, trick shot. So pinging 1 damage to any unit he can see, and with the line of sight rules and shadow point, that's most people generally.
And
Yeah,
removing the numbers.
and removing hunk as well. So it's both, which is really nice. I played a game with Crosshair into Rebel Commandos the other day, and you know Crosshair immediately pings the damage and takes their hunker, strips their hunker off. So it's like whatever advantage you think you had, and now you're closer to me. Well, guess what? I'm just going to now use Crosshair to move and kill you, and I don't really have to do a whole lot about setting that up. So yeah, Crosshair is very good. Yeah, and his attrition also comes from his find the shot. So he spends a force, gets a climb, and then gets 3 extra dice to fire 10 at you, and he can pump out the damage. So Crosshair can almost take out 2 units in a turn if you've got a unit teed up with 1 health to go. So he just pings one into them and then shoots another unit. He is very good at wounding, and he's got quite a good defensive expertise chart.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing is that he's got one of the best.
Yeah.
Crit mitigation, pretty good scaling on it. Rolls
Yeah,
5 dice.
5 dice. It's very good.
Yeah, he's no Cody, right? Like
he's he's what Cody wants to be. Cody's jealous.
I don't know. Crosshair, he's kind of selfish, whereas Cody wants to give out rerolls. You have to jump through lots of hoops to get those rerolls. But,
Yeah, be near me, have a hunker. Yeah. And then reroll only the fails. Yeah, it's like okay. I got all expertise. Thanks, Cody. Thanks for helping. Yeah, fair call.
No, Crosshair is great. If you're looking for I think the thing with Crosshair is like you can drop him in basically anywhere, right?
True.
And he's still going to be fine. So I think from that aspect, he's really really good, really flexible. And I kind of look at Crosshair versus Savage, and you're like, yeah, Savage has some movement shenanigans if you're putting him with the right keyword primaries. But Crosshair you could almost just drop him anywhere, and he's just still going to go, yep, cool, I'm going to pump the damage.
Oh yeah, no, entirely. I think Crosshair's favorite primary is probably Luminara.
Yeah, that'd be fair. That'd be fair.
In the same kind of squad, because she'll bring just ate my words there. She'll bring someone to aid him in some way, and then with some sort of coordinated fire, and him just putting the damage through. He's pretty consistent at wounding a unit. Whatever he wants to kill, he generally does. So yeah, he's very good.
Yep.
Great. Moving on to Gideon Hask, and another very good secondary unit here in Gideon Hask. You can see how big his attrition is, and he's our last secondary that does get a revenge trigger, because when you wound him, he does get to fire back 5 dice at you. His attrition, I think, is a little bit too good. I think he's definitely overtuned. That's me, a good guy player, talking about a bad guy. So I'm probably very biased, but I think his innate is on par with any primary's identity. In fact, it's better than some primary identities.
I agree. Like, I think the fact that you can't turn it off is probably what tips it over the edge. Like, I think all they needed to do probably was make it so that, if there's a one or more other unwounded Allied Galactic Empire Scout character, that would be right. So that if you've wounded Hask, or you wounded ISF, or you've wounded Iden, they can't just keep giving you those extra hits or strikes, or whatever you want to call them. But his attrition is huge because of that. He also can, like he's got, as with all of the ISF, he's got very good dice. He's got easy access to a focus, rolling 9 dice at range. He can do a decent amount of damage. Got pretty good expertise. Like, his solo attrition is decent, but then that identity, which is, as you said, it's basically that innate is basically an identity ability.
Oh,
Right?
100% it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. I don't think that it's like it's on par. I think a lot of people say, oh, Hunter's is better, Gideon's is better. If there's a debate about which is better, then that suggests they're on par at least.
I think
And
this one's better because it pushes it pushes your ceiling higher, right?
I agreed. It's hard to tell because if you're playing with Bad Badge, well, I can give myself an expertise then, which might give me a reposition. So I can get an extra benefit out of. I can. That's the key word.
Yeah,
There.
you
I
also
can
have
get
to have had a miss, right?
Yeah, and it's only on clones with
Yep.
Hunter, and Gideon's is not locked to anything. It's just Empire. Vader can get it. If you're
Yeah.
playing in a double Gideon list, Gideon, Moff Gideon, I mean, is giving you an extra dice for, for attacking someone on a point you don't own, and you've got an ISF in range. Well, you're getting an extra dice and an extra strike. So you're already shifting the numbers in your favor incredibly.
Yep.
It's hard to deny that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the other thing is he also comes with Long Live the Empire, which is just a fantastic ability, right? Like to be
Yeah.
able to move the supporting units will give one of them a reposition. Yeah, they take 2 damage, but I've used it before where I'm like, okay, I had ISF or whatever, and they had like 2 health left, and I'm like, whatever. Yeah, take the momentum, but they're back alive and they're on a point.
Yeah.
And it let me get all 4 points at the start of struggle 3, right? And you're like, well, of course, this is a fantastic ability, right? And as you said, if you take him with the other Gideon, so Moff Gideon, well, now you got two units that you draw that could potentially do that.
It's such a horrible combo for anyone playing into it, because you've got 2 units that can long live the Empire, and you've got 2 units adding successes across the board, and it's just like, well, how do I play into something so oppressive? It really does feel like you're playing the Empire when you play those guys.
That's true.
Fantastic. So let's move on to Chewie. I don't like that he's just called Chewie, but it is the way it is. His tree is almost identical to Rekka and Omega's, the radar graph, and I think he just loses 1 in tenacity. But he is providing a lot to the team, and I think that's why his tenacity is so high. Never mind the fact he has a insane health pool. And some pretty good defensive expertise. Really, what he's bringing is that cover to any ally within range 2 of him, but also he's able to give them an extra expertise in their defensive role. So he is adding a lot to the team defensively, but I think that's really all he's doing. He doesn't max out at a whole lot of damage. He doesn't want to spend force generally, which is fine, but yeah, I don't really see him as much more than just a good solid point holder.
I agree. I think it's the 12 health is the main thing. I guess what I kind of dislike about him is that you just shove him off the point, and then you're like, yeah, cool, 12 health, whatever. The force efficiency is great because you generally don't have to spend any force on Chewie. So that's a good thing. And yeah, he does have the 10 health and provides that cover. The other thing is he's got that nice, it's not wise to upset a Wookiee. So his attrition does get, I think that's why he doesn't do a ton of damage on his tree, is because he's got that ability that typically 2 to 3 extra damage that's not tied to an attack. So again, gets around the Kanan thing, and just helps. He could clean up two units, right? Like he could clean up 2 units that
He
were.
could. He could.
Yeah.
It's potential, but yeah. The other thing that really hurts Chewie is, like, and I love Chewie, but he doesn't never want to go first.
Yeah, well, he definitely doesn't want to go first. That's for sure.
Yeah, he doesn't want to go first. So just that's something to consider when playing Chewie. Don't let that catch you out. All right, moving on. We have Ezra Bridger, Spectre 6. He's got quite a small tree. Not tree. I keep calling it a tree. The graph. He's got quite a small graph
Yeah,
when you look at it.
Yeah, I think the thing is you basically take him for that the fact that he has mandate, right?
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
maybe we missed some points on him because maybe his control should be a bit higher. I think we may have missed some points. Might have to correct him. I think he's interesting. His control should be higher than that.
I must have
That's
missed
right.
something.
That's right. He's interesting, right? Because at times he's great, but I played him a decent chunk now. We were having a discussion the other day about you've kind of got 3 secondaries that you can pick inspectors, right? You can pick Ezra, you can pick Sabine, and you can pick Callus now. And which of those do you pick if you're only taking 2?
Yeah.
And all of them have positives, and they've all got some negatives. And I know Jeff really likes Ezra to the degree that he'll put Ezra in an Empire list effectively because he's got mandate. I just find he's a bit pillow-fisted. A lot pillow-fisted, actually.
He doesn't do a whole lot on his turn, I will admit.
Because I think he, particularly if he's shooting, I think you struggle. Well, at least I have struggled to get more than 2 successes a lot of the time.
Yeah, and I'll talk about it on our next Shadow Pointed. I did play
Yeah.
Ezra in all my games on the weekend, and I struggled to get. I actually, in fact, not struggled. I didn't get more than 2 through on any of his attacks.
Yeah, so I think that's reflected in his fairly low attrition there, right? Like he doesn't have tons of dice. His scaling is okay on his expertise, but like just the raw, like when you just don't have raw dice, it's just hard to achieve anything. So I think it's interesting. I think his control should be a little bit higher, not tons higher, but a little bit.
No. Yeah, we'll adjust that. That's on me.
It's fine. I need to double check because it may not be.
I did double check the doc. That's what it said in the doc. But
well, then maybe I got it wrong. Hold on, let me have a quick check.
Quick fact checks.
It's wrong. He should have 6. He should have 6.
Is that what it says in the doc?
No, I probably just put it in wrong.
Okay, my mistake.
No, my bad. What are you talking about? I put it in wrong.
Nah, nah. Come on, man. It's all me. I'll put it on me.
There you go. I fixed it. So we'll get that updated. So his control is 6, and it comes down to that mandate. And he does have shoves, right? So he's got a shove on 1, and he's got a shove on 3. And if you don't need the shoves and you just need to do conditions, you can do pin and strain. I think the difficulty is that it's just let down by that lack of dice, right? Like it's only 6 dice on ranged attacks, right? So
yeah,
maybe you hit with 3, maybe, and you get an expertise. So then you go up to 5, but it's quite often that your opponent will go, cool, I blocked 2 or 3, and you're only getting 2 or 3 through your tree, right? So he doesn't, like, 2 is quite common. In my experience, 2 is pretty much what you get with Ezra when you're shooting. And even in melee, it's 2, but an extra damage. And
that's right.
I don't think he does enough on 2. And then you're looking at, okay, well, what else does he bring? He brings mandate, and he's got a dash on his defensive expertise on 2. But if you but he's only got 8 health. So if you just kill him, Mandate doesn't do anything, and the dashback doesn't do anything. So I feel like he's this like kind of quite squishy. And Mandate's great. You kind of, yeah, I don't know. Like playing with Hera, where Hera can turn him back on after he has been wounded, that's great, but that's a Hera thing rather than an Ezra thing. But it's kind of like, well, Hera then kind of wants to play with Ezra. I don't know. How do you find Ezra?
I really like him just for the fact that he does have Mandate, right? So I'm not playing Ezra because I am expecting him to get a whole lot through his tree. I think he is purely a tool to use to win a point fairly easily. And if you're playing with Hera, if you're playing with Kanan, and if you're playing with Sabine, Hera, and Kanan,
All three of them can move him
back
around
to a point, and I think, and then if as long as he's on a point, he's winning it generally, because you want to put him on a point where there's only one, and then the other player, sorry, not the other player, the other unit that's acting to move him there can try and make sure that there's only one contesting character on the point. All right, so that's all you really need for Ezra to win it. So I think that's pretty solid. I know that Callus is a great option in that slot, and I think there's plenty to talk about there. And I think we can maybe leave it to the next one where we can discuss that in Shatter Pointed.
That's fair.
Yeah, because I did take all three the other day in a triple threat style list. So yeah, but I think we leave that to the next episode to discuss, just because we would be here till the cows come home. And I know Prometheus would love it, and some other people would. But I know Aubrey is going to kill us already because he's like, "What are you doing? You're talking too long. Come on, guys.
An hour. What are you guys doing?"
Yeah. And if you don't know who Aubrey is, he's from A Momentous Struggle. So I kind of feel like, and maybe I'm stepping out of my bounds here, I kind of feel like they're the American version of us. They're like the laid back, chill community.
I agree, but a lot faster at getting to the point.
Oh yeah, that's why they're the American version of us, because we're just their time is money there. You don't get away with things like we do, and we can just take a yarn, wait for the rains to roll in, eh? All right, I'm getting broader as we go. All right, moving on. Sabine Wren, what a surprise that she comes next. And you can see just how much she spikes there in attrition, and she's got a certain amount of mobility there too. But that fireworks ability that she has can be great, can be really good. I did 12 damage on the weekend, and not to my own units. That was all to my opponent. I did 12 damage all around. I rolled three expertise.
And there were 4.
And I was playing into a Kanan, and guess what? I did a wound, and guess what? Kanan doesn't get to do shit, so fuck you, Kanan. Seriously, it was so like I've never had a roll like that. So very good there from Sabine. Also, she's getting that kind of sharpshooter when she ends a move near a Spectre or a Mando, so she's getting 9 dice shot. I think she's very, and then that mobility she adds on her tactic to move a rebel around, just a dash, but that's all you need sometimes is just a dash. It's very good. What do you think?
Yeah, all of those things, right? Like, and she does have a shove on 2 and 3, and with 9 dice, you're likely to get that 2 and 3, right? It's unlikely that you're only getting the 1 or 2 when you've got 9 dice versus 6.
Yeah, no, totally.
And I think the weakness for me on her is just her defense dice. It's 4 just feels like, why am I only rolling 4?
I think she pays the hair attacks a little too hard.
She does, and also the Beskar armor attacks. Where
she normally gets 3 blocks. Like,
yeah, but I've rolled like no expertise with her quite often. Right, and
it
so
sucks.
then I'm like, I'm getting 2, right? Because I might roll 2 and then get 2 fails, or I roll 3 fails and get to expertise, right? And you're only getting 2 for that, right? So yeah, you kind of would like to and hope to get 3, but I've not got 3 quite frequently with those 4.
Okay, fair
And when
call.
you are, if you are exposed, you're just like, ooh, bro, what is that? It's like, why,
Yeah, brother. Ooh.
like, why? Just because you're in Beskar armor, suddenly your defense dice go out the window? Like, why?
I don't know. Yeah, but look, I mean, the inverse, right? So let's say she's got a hunker, she's on a piece of terrain, and then
And
Hera's
you've
in
got
range.
Hera, yeah, I
Then you're
know.
rolling too many, right? So yeah,
And
I
now
think
you're rolling 7, or 8 or whatever. 7, I think.
yeah, because you're adding 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I understand that they don't want that to be 8.
but I think
But yeah,
her
melee,
melee needs one more.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
it needed to be 4-5.
yeah. If it was 4-5, I'd be like Sabine all the way. So I think she's still quite solid, right? Like I think she's quite a solid piece. If you're taking her with Spectres, that's good. If you're taking her with Mandalorians, that's good. But you do need at least one more Rebel Alliance in there, which I failed to look at when we played last.
Oh yeah, that's right. All right, here's a question for you about Sabine. Helmet
Okay.
on or helmet off?
I put her helmet on,
Good lad. All right, just making sure.
but I may buy another Hera box, and if I do, then I'll do a helmet off version.
Oh, we're gonna have 2 versions. You're gonna have. Oh, you can do different seasons of.
I could. I was thinking, like, what? Because this box is season 1 or something, maybe
2, right?
2. Is it? Okay.
I think because Ezra has the pocket
Oh
pouch,
yeah, the lightsaber. Yeah.
and that lightsaber comes at the end of season 1. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So it's season 2. So I'm like, okay, so it should paint it based on that.
yes, yeah, that's what you should do.
Also, how, like, you were explaining to me Beskar armor like attracts the blaster bolts or whatever. She's wearing so little Beskar armor,
Oh, I was taking the piss.
right? She's
Oh,
barely wearing any.
yeah, I know.
Anyways, yep.
When I said Beskar armor attracts the bolts, I was taking the piss because that's
I don't
exactly
know,
where they
man.
seem to land every time.
Yeah, because it's like she's barely wearing any.
Yeah,
right?
no, yeah, I was being facetious.
Okay, so all
I
right,
would
good.
never. But anyway, moving on. Luke Skywalker Daring Hero, and this one, it's the proper card art because it's released now, so it's not like the shitty
Yeah.
fucking I've taken a screenshot and put it online when I probably shouldn't have art. It's the
I
other art.
did an unboxing and released all of the
Yeah.
rules.
For a 3-point, Luke is very good.
I agree. I think for a 3-point, he's very good.
He's got insane mobility. That tactic ability he has is amazing. It's very good. And I
Yeah,
think you look
it's
at the
it's
rest of his card.
It's Bausch's thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's basically fan out. Yeah. What I really like about Luke, and I was thinking about where does he fit into a team, and I know this has not really got to do with this episode, but I think if you think Endor Leia, this Luke, and then Rebel Commandos, and let's say you bring, I don't know, Lando and R2 on the other side, maybe whatever, but Leia has a defensive maneuver, which gives her a hunker, and the Commandos have Commando Doctrine, which gives them a hunker. So Luke is able to give them the rerolls from their abilities, and I think that's something maybe to look at because I'm not sure how useful Luke's kind of Cody ability is there, and I was thinking ways to work that in, and I think Endor Leia and Rebel Commandos, it fits in the point cost, and they're able to get those rerolls from him. That may be something to look at, but
I think
yeah.
particularly Rebel Commandos would love that,
Oh yeah.
right? Because they can pump damage, so getting some rerolls, super good.
Yeah, something I'm kind of looking at. I think Death 1942 said this on the weekend, and he's like, pretty much straight after their release, Rebels became one of the most complex factions to list build with because there's so many intricacies, happening in their squad, and it just like happened overnight. It's like they went from just being Ewoks, and then it's just like, fuck, how do I best build a Rebel list because there is so much to look at with them. And if I take this layer, I can't take that layer. If I take this layer,
Yeah,
I
I
can't take
think
that layer.
there is like you were just saying take layer, Death Star layer, and Bausch. And you're like, yeah, you can't. And then you're like Endor layer, yeah, cool. That means that Endor layer and this Luke opens up a 4-point cost support, secondary support. Sorry, yeah. So then I can take Rebel Commandos, and then I take Lando and R2 and primary Luke. Oh crap, I can't.
Yeah, the
It's
double loop.
like yeah,
I know. Yeah,
rough.
yeah. It's just something to think about, I suppose. Cool. Happy to move on.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think we have our last unit now here. And yeah, I stopped at Callus. I did stop at Callus.
Oh, okay. You didn't do.
Well, I was going with released
Oh,
boxes.
wait, yeah, because we. Oh well, we could have done Paz Vizsla, but yeah,
We could have done Paz, but I stopped at released boxes.
that's fair.
Gives us more content later, Shh, don't tell
Okay.
anyone. He is very consistent with the dice thing, and I think he's not an Empire character. He is surely people are putting him more with Spectre than they are with Empire.
I think you have to, right?
Yeah.
You have to. Yeah, he's like it's interesting because we've definitely had Empire Rex, and now we have Rebel Rex.
Rebel Rex, yeah, okay, Grey Rex.
Because
We got White Rex, Black Rex, and now Grey Rex.
Yeah, because I mean, okay, there are a few differences, obviously. His expertise charts are not like Rex's at all.
Oh, no.
But he's rolling a lot of dice. Like, if you can pay for that prepared for any encounter, that's 9 dice, either at range or in melee, which is pretty big. And his combat stance is exactly the same as Rex. Like, it's exactly the same.
Exactly, yes, identical.
And I think it's funny because his force efficiency there is really low, right? Because you're probably wanting to use that Imperial intelligence throughout the game, which is where he can allow any allied character when attacking or defending, they can spend, it starts at 1 force, and then they can re-roll up to as many dice as they share tags with Callus. So if it's Callus himself, then it's 3. If it's Kanan and Ezra, I think it's 3. If it's most of the other Spectres, it's 2. If it's Endor Leia, you can then get 4 on Callus, and most of the others then get 2 because they're both they get Rebel Alliance and they get Ewok. And that dice fixing, I guess, that consistency is kind of nuts, right? Like,
that's busted.
Yeah, like you get to see what your opponents rolled, you get to see what their expertise is, you get to see everything before you decide, am I spending a force to fix my dice? You can't do it if you're also using like something else that, well, I don't know if we got an answer for this one. I don't know if Desert Spiral asked the question because he reckons you can use this and a coordinated fire type ability. I'm not sure that you can. I suspect that you can't. So you can't use it if you're using the Rebel Commandos extra damage.
Yeah.
Or the expose from Endor layer. But it's so good. Like, you just go, oh, what do I need my Kanan to get? Oh, okay, yep, cool. I'll just take these up and roll them again. It really, I think it moves the Spectres from being super pillow fisted to having a little bit of weight behind their attacks. And that's why his attrition is so high, right? Because of that. The tenacity is high as well because that ability can be used on offense and defense, right? So you can use that when you're being attacked, right? And it could be, I'm pretty sure, right, is that you could, if somebody has gone, oh, I'm going to expose your Kanan, so now you're not going to get your dash back. But if you've got Callus, you're like, okay, well, I'll just take one of my blocks and I'll turn that into, fish for an expertise or something, right? So there are a lot of ways that you can use that ability that make it very, very good.
Oh, it's incredible. Really is. Yeah, I don't think anyone disagrees.
Yeah, and sorry, what I was saying, his force efficiency is on his turn, he could actually be super force efficient because he gets a tactics dash, right? So that all leads must be pursued, so he can dash towards an enemy character as a tactic. That's great. So if even if he has been wounded or whatever on his turn, he may not have to spend any force.
No, that's
Right? And
generally what
still,
happens.
yeah, and still get a decent amount of movement. And then you're like, well, okay, I'm going to save it because even at 2 force, if I can reroll 3 of Kanan's attack dice for 2 force, it's still cheaper than Mace.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I think he's I totally agree. I don't think he's a Empire unit. And the only reason why I say that is just because the Empire units don't share a lot of tags with him.
No.
Only ISB share all 3, and most of them only share 1. Particularly like primaries and stuff, only typically share 1. Like Thrawn, whose box he comes in, only has Galactic Empire that is shared. So it's kind of a bit the 1 for 1. I get it might be okay in a clutch situation, but I'd much rather spend 1 and get 3 on Kanan or even 2 on Hera when I'm trying to get down Hera's tree to get stuff for free.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I think he's a really interesting unit. I think he's a solid choice in Spectres. I think he may even be potentially, depending upon the tags that are in your rebel list, he could be a solid choice there as well.
Yeah, he's great. He's pretty much anywhere you put him where you can have a more than at least 2, more than 1 tag to share with, and to get those rerolls. I think you need to also consider a list that doesn't consume a lot of force. So obviously Spectre isn't very force hungry. I don't find Hera barely spends force, like to do her we will not stand down for 2 force. You're not really doing that. Kanan, generally, if he doesn't have to spend to do his force push, he probably won't. So he can be generally some pretty force agnostic. Depends how effectively you're using Ezra and Kanan to move up the board. You might be able to get Ezra the jump up to a point for free. Same thing with Sabine. She might not need to do the jump if you've moved her up the board effectively. So, Spectre's not super force hungry, so they have a lot of scope for the rerolls. I think that's where he fits best.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you made a good point, which was just that if you're on Kanan's Form 3 Serasu side, the reroll may get you to that 5 successes, and then you get the force push for free.
That's the other thing.
Yeah. So you spend 1, get up to 3 rerolls, and then you may get the force push for free. So, interesting unit. But I think we're done. That's it.
We are done for now. Yeah,
now.
there'll obviously be more that we come out with, and keep your eye on that. As more boxes get released, we'll start to break down all the cards from those in our little what was that anime thing called that we were told that we did and we weren't even aware of? Jojo Siwa, the Jojo Siwa graph, right? That's what it's called.
And then there's some apparently in My Hero. Is it Academy or Academia?
Yeah, but the one of the two. Yeah.
Obviously, don't watch enough anime to know.
No, neither do I. Yeah, there's something else there. So one of those anime things, someone tell us where we're wrong. The JoJo Siwa graph that we've done. And yeah, we'll come out with more. But yeah, I guess we're done. Thank you for listening this far. If you have hated what you've heard, even more thank you for sticking around and pushing yourself through that echo chamber. So great, thank you. The more that happens, the better.
I'm just gonna say it now because I just forgot. I think we forgot to mention Prometheus. That was my bad.
Oh no!
As one of
Oh,
our
he's
patrons.
raging.
He's like, I'm unsubscribed to the page.
Sorry, buddy.
Sorry,
He's the current. I tell you
He's
why,
the
because
league champ. That's why I got confused. Yeah.
yes, he's got a different tag rather
How
than
bad? How
Matt.
bad? My bad in particular.
Yeah. See, I didn't get a chance to fuck up, so
That's
it could have been me.
way. That's the
It's
red way.
Yep. Pure
But
polish.
thanks everybody for listening or not, but whatever. So yes, what? As we're working on supports, so they'll come out soon.
Soon. Keep your ears peeled. That's not a thing. It's eyes peeled. I don't know. We keep your ears. Keep your ears tuned.
Yeah,
Your radar dishes tuned. Whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So keep your radar dishes tuned. Keep your canons out, and keep your stance cards exactly where you want them. Until next time, this is the way.
This is the way.